Hi, and welcome to What's the Worst That Could Happen. Today I've got Jordyn on here from Burlesque L'amour, and I'm so excited to learn more about her story and also share it with you. Without further ado, I'm going to get you to introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, and it's an honour to be on your podcast. I'm very excited. My name is Jordyn James, and I'm the owner and director of Burlesque L'amour.
Awesome. And you've got a few other things other than Burlesque L'amour going on.
I do, yeah. I've got, when you say that, I do have two other companies.
Yeah.
I've got Retreat Yourself Collective with my beautiful friend Cass, which is coming up to our second retreat in June this year, which is really exciting, over in Bali.
Amazing.
And then I've got Cabaret company with my other bestie, Neil, and we run big events across the coast as well. So
Amazing.
A couple of little ventures and a few really exciting ones on the horizon that are still very much in the development stages, but are going to be hopefully really big.
I love it. So a bit of a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I love it.
I know. And I didn't really, it's so funny. I didn't really realize I was until just recently. When you stop, it's like that moment that you stop and look back at what you've done and you're like, oh my God, okay, I have done this. And maybe I do know what I'm doing a little bit, but because I'm more of a go with the flow and enjoy the ride, it's more of a whoops, here I landed with all of this stuff going on, but I love it.
I know. I'm exactly the same. I think I did my first business and I think I was 25 or whatever when I started, and first studio. And then now I've got 4 studios, Pilates Academy, app, podcast,
All going on.
all the rest of it. And it's like, oh, wait, wow, okay,
Yeah.
that's me. Like, this is where we are.
Yep.
Don't know how that happened, but it just happened.
I often say that. It's like when I did start, I don't think I ever thought it would get, because it was a passion and it's still my number one passion. But you look back and you're like, at no point did I ever plan. It's not, I never sat down with a business plan, ever.
No, me either.
And it's gotten to where, but I think that there's a lot of positives and learning and beauty in that rather than being too structured.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I think that we're going to talk about all of that today, which I love. Okay, so can you take us a little bit through your journey from how you went from wherever you went from school, working, I actually don't know, into owning your first business?
So I went through to year 12. I was a Siena Catholic College girl. The school was always really supportive. When I say I didn't have a business plan, I had a very loose business plan I think I was 8 years old.
Wow.
So I don't even know what year that was. It was a school project. It was, what do you want to be when you're older? And I did. I drew a studio, and I remember had a little section. I love animals and I love dogs. I had a section for my dog. That's all I had sorted, just a room
with a dog
and an area. No students. But I did actually have in this little project, I want to own my own dance studio one day with 300 members. It was just a loose number that I'd written down. It was a project. Mum still kept it this whole time.
Oh my gosh.
So I did all of my school. I did go to uni for a little bit when I graduated, and I think it was that Mum and Dad were amazing. They never pressured me to go to uni. They always supported what I wanted to do. But it was that thing that sort of instilled in you as like, you should have a backup. What are you going to do if that plan, it was always my passion. I was going to give it a red hot go, but what are you going to do if it doesn't work out? So I got into exercise science. Don't ask me what for, like why I chose that. And I just knew straight away that uni was not for me. First of all, I couldn't find the library. This sounds so silly to say out loud now.
It's so intimidating.
Oh my God.
I remember when I first went to uni, and then I also wasn't one of the people who did like all the week before guided things.
Oh no, I did nothing.
So then I'd be like, I don't know where I'm going, what I'm doing, how to get a library book. Was I meant to order textbooks? Like,
I know.
Going on?
I went to the bookshop, not the library. I remember calling Mum and I was like, Mum, it's like $60 to hire a book. I'm not hiring a book. And she's like, no way. Anyway, so I get talking to a couple of girls and I was like, did you have to pay to hire that? They're like, that was the bookshop, babe, not the library. So I was like, okay, I'm figuring out that maybe, uni's not for me. I was there for maybe a semester and I was like, I think I'm just going to really go for this career that I really want to do. At the time I was working in pharmacy. I got a job in pharmacy when I was maybe 13. My mum worked in pharmacy, so that sort of kept me going through until I just took the leap of faith into business. And I would have been 17, 18 when I first started in business. My first company was called Elevation Dance Company. I went back to Siena Catholic College and hired their hall, advertised for classes. I had a student base of maybe 100 kids. Mm-hmm. And then fast forward, you know, I was just hiring from, you know, school halls and stuff. Fast forward till I was 20, maybe 19. And then that's when I had a call from a woman in Yamundi. And she said to me, you know, she got my number through the kids' classes and said, have you ever taught burlesque before? And it was around the time that the movie Burlesque came out. Mm. And I loved it too. And I was like, I never have, but I'm absolutely sure A, I would love it, and B, I could give it a really good crack. So I did. I got off the phone to her and I started choreographing and playing around with it. I just loved the way that it made me feel. I was like, it was something you couldn't really do with the kids, right? Mm-hmm. You know, there's obviously
reasons.
Yeah.
Sexy reasons.
Exactly. But feeling, and I remember through school when I was a teenager, I would put on like the Pussycat Dolls, and I just loved their music, and I would be like dancing and, you know, body rolls and all of the stuff that just made me feel really feminine and sexy, and I loved it. So then when I started looking into that world a little bit more, I fell in love with it. So I called her back and I said, absolutely, I can, like, let's just do it. So I hired, or she organised for me actually, a room in the back of a pub in Yamundi called Joe's Watering Hole. Mm-hmm. And it was literally like their eatery area. So tables and chairs and this tiny little stage. And she said, great, I've got 12 people that are going to come next week and we'll start. I was like, cool. All right. So I had no idea what to expect.
I love this angel.
Yeah. I was
like this angel lady.
Yeah, exactly. She's beautiful. And so I remember walking up and I was like, you know, I don't really get nervous too much, but I was excited, but also seeing these women, like to me, I was like, these women, you know, I looked up to women their age because they were about late 30s, maybe early 40s at the time, a bit of a, you know, mix in ages. And I was like, okay, I'm like only a young woman. How am I going to teach these women anything? Like, to me, a woman of that age, before I knew much about women, I was like,
I totally know the feeling when I opened the studio. Yeah. Like I said, I was about 25, and you've got these, like 30, 40, 50, 60, even 70-year-olds coming in.
Yeah.
And you feel like, well, they have lived in this world so much longer than me. They must know so much more.
That's right.
And you have to get over it,
right? You do. And I guess the older I got in business, I realized that that's imposter syndrome kicking in. So I was like, what am I going to teach these women? They've got kids, families, like a house. Like, they're so much further along in life than what I am. And I walked in and they loved the class and they continued to come back. And I've still got 6 of those 12 women 11 years later. So, and then it just grew from there. But I guess with that whole imposter syndrome kicking in, what really stood out to me most was I was stepping into a world that I had no idea how special something like this that I started could help women in their everyday life. And from the surface, what women can hide. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're so put together, they soldier on, but a lot of them have got these really terrible things going on, or self-confidence issues that are stopping them from doing so much in their life. And I've learned now that by providing this space where somebody believes in them, they then can change their lives. Yeah,
it's so empowering. And I think that when you talk about that imposter syndrome, it's like, it's, well, when I've thought about it, it's like, well, I made it all about me, but, you know, there's one particular incident, but there's been lots in my time at Inflow. And there's one where 4 years after I'd opened the studio, one of the ladies who'd been there from the start, she came up to me and she was like, I've never told you my story. And I was like, okay, let's go, tell me. And basically she was like, Inflow's been my haven since you opened, DV relationship, moved from a different country here, so completely isolated. With my kids, was scared to leave my house, even like would have her gate locked, get the kids into the car, lock the car, unlock the gate, reverse out, wait with the car locked until the gate closed. And she said, the only place I felt safe is here, and what you've done here is so powerful. And it's like, if I never started that business with that intention, and it sounds similar to you.
Very similar.
But it's been such a huge part of my why.
Yeah.
And if I'd let that imposter syndrome kick in, like, that wouldn't have been created for her.
Absolutely.
And lots of other people like that.
Yeah, that's right. And I think as well, it's then I'm sure you probably feel the same. You feel a great responsibility to nurture that. Once you learn more about people's stories, like I'm really big on culture. For me, having, really protecting that. And if something within the culture just doesn't feel right, or somebody doesn't feel safe, or their time with us is not being enjoyed the way that it should by the examples that I've set or that I've started, I'm very quick to it took a while to learn how to do that, don't get me wrong, but to get onto that and be like, okay, well, something's not aligning here and we need to figure out what it is, because for me, the most important thing is our community, and for the members to really feel like they've got a space that they can trust and grow and feel supported. Yeah.
Amazing. So from there it grew from those 12 ladies. How long down the track until you've got your first, say, space?
I think it was maybe about 2 years, and it's actually a full circle moment. I took over the lease in Warana, which is our now headquarters, from my childhood dance teacher, studio, Encore. She called me and she said, I have this studio. She's always been a great entrepreneur as well. She said, I'm not really needing the space at the moment. Would you like to come in and take over the lease? And it was already fit out. I was like, big move, but scared. I was like, perfect, let's just do it.
Yeah.
And one thing, again, a passion thing, and I'm sure you've been the same, for me, because I love it so much, it never was about the numbers, right? Even back then, I would show up regardless of how many people were booked into my class. Like if I had one, I was like, cool, I've got one woman that wants to come and spend her time with me and learn from me. I'm going to go and show up for that one person, the same in which I would show up for 35.
Yeah.
And I do truly think that that is what, because it was just me back then, running this, learning how to navigate this new studio space, starting a timetable, putting styles on, figuring out how that flow works throughout the week, and then marketing. And it was new to me. I had no idea what I was doing, but feel so grateful that I would say all of our growth has been word of mouth. Like it was just that one lady that would start coming to that particular headquarters, and then it just kept growing and growing. And funny enough, I still travel so that was Monday, my very first class. We did get moved on from the pub.
Yeah.
to across the road to the QCWA hall now. Now we're in Cabaret. So I still drive to Cabaret every Wednesday night, the same timetable for the last 11 years, going down that way for those women. So
wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, we've got the Warana headquarters, but then we're all the way from Cabaret to South Brisbane now.
It's such a true testament to who you are as a person and who you are as a business owner, that your biggest method of sales is referrals.
Yeah.
Because it means that everyone who comes into your space presence obviously has a good experience.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. In terms of from a business mindset, so you talked about culture.
Yep.
How have you felt like you have, why do you think people refer you?
I think it's been I've always stuck with the mantra, people are never going, they might not remember what you do or say, but they're going to remember the way that you make them feel. So I've taken that into every single lesson of mine. So without it sounding, up myself, I think that by doing that every single lesson and creating a culture that people really wanted to be around, I've had people say to me before, I don't feel like dancing today, but I'm just coming to be in your class, to be around your energy and feel, supported. And I'm like, if that is why you're coming, that means so much more to me than anything else. So I just really could see it lifting these women around me. So it was again, I just really honed in on that and made sure I stayed true to my values and my passion and my purpose the whole way through. It's obviously been a different game to navigate as you start to bring in a team, right? So it was me for such a long time, and I was running nearly 50 classes a week.
Wow.
I don't even know how I did that for so long. And obviously at some point in time, you have to start delegating.
Yeah.
But it is a big step when you're, letting people into your world and into your brand that you've spent so much time to nurture and you really are passionate about. So I've sort of really tried to lead by example with anybody that comes in, and I'm very selective with those people that I bring into my team.
And I feel like because the business is so intimate, it's such an intimate business for people who are working, but also like people who are coming on as a team, but also people who are coming as clients, that it's such a big responsibility that you're handing over to your team in terms of what we spoke about before, like nurturing those clients and like knowing that they're going to hold those same values as you.
Exactly. You know, I'm more than happy. I'm so hands-on with my team too. Like I love to be able to share the feedback. Sometimes I think we live in a world now, this is my opinion, and I don't know why this makes me sound so old. We're not even old. But
No, we're not old.
everything is like really I feel for social media these days. And I think helping my team see the deeper side of that. Like, yes, we do have these amazing routines and there's some incredible dancers. And yes, that's wonderful to highlight, but it is so much more than just a dance studio. It's a community. This is people's lives that we are, you know, dealing with and helping women through. So really helping them and I'm always passing on the positive feedback that, you know, my teachers would get from members in the way that they've made them feel, because I really want them to know that that is the most important part of the brand.
Yeah.
And for me, it's not the end result of getting up on stage. We often have a giggle because, yes, it's amazing to watch this routine that is so clean and everyone's going the same way and it's sharp. But then you watch these routines of beginners, it's their first time. They may have had a couple of fireball shots backstage. They get out, they drop their prop and they walk the wrong way and they're laughing. The audience responds more to that than what they do the other routines. And we get the best feedback from those particular acts because it's like those women were just enjoying themselves and having the best time.
Yeah. And I think it's like you've mentioned a couple of times, and I so agree with you. It's a feeling you leave people with. And then at the point of when you're running these big shows, it's not only about the feeling that these women have on stage, it's the feeling that the audience then also have.
Exactly.
And can feel as well. And I know for me, when I run classes and when I hire team as well, it's yes, you can like write a immaculate class plan and it can flow and it can be this and that. But for me, the most important part of the studios is the way someone feels when they walk away and they don't know why. They just feel good. They feel taller. They feel confident. They feel empowered. And it sounds like that's a really similar thing for you guys. And it wasn't an intentional thing at the start. It was something I realized. I was like, well, what is our point of difference? And I'm like, it's this. It's like making sure that we have the right people that are going to leave clients feeling that way.
Absolutely. And I think that the more conversations I've had around that as we are stepping into a, you know, generation where it is very led by social media and the highlights and all the good things. But when you talk to people like ourselves and you will openly talk about that, it really does come down to the person that, for example, you are, that you can lead a business like that. That means that you're a really genuine person and you're in it for the right reasons. And I think that becomes really obvious when you do have these real conversations, but you're also like, we love to show that side of things on our social media too. You know, we do have incredible dancers and some fantastic routines, but we love to show the bloopers and the community and all of the realness as well. So
yeah. And I think that that's, in my personal opinion, in a community like the Sunshine Coast, I think that that's what makes a business sustainable. I think that, again, when I just go to the Pilates industry, when I see studios that are opened up by value, heart-led people who have that kind of mentality, they're the ones who are going to stick around. You know, that at the moment that Pilates is really peaking. Yeah. People are obsessed with it. And it's like, am I worried for when that stops happening? No, because I know the heart that
you've left
the
them
community
with way more than just a
trend.
Class.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and I think it's quite rare. I think with how easy it is for people to start businesses these days and become an entrepreneur in whatever they want to do, it's great that they can do that. but it does start with the person that they're finding out what their passion is. Not everyone is good at working with people. And it is a very rare, quality to have, to be a really good people. But there is a difference. I did learn this too, between being a people pleaser and a people person. I'm a big people person, and I had to learn probably the hard way not to people please.
Yeah.
But that comes with growing a business, right? You're like, okay, I really can't be doing that anymore, because that's going to come at the cost of me being burnt out or, stressed. So I think, it's a really very good quality to be if you're working with people, a people person.
Yeah, totally. And I think, the word entrepreneur gets thrown around a lot. And
it does. I
think what my personal opinion is that there's a difference between, it's like people think it's really sexy to be an entrepreneur. And I don't think
it's not. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh. It can be hideous at times.
And I think it's like, I don't think that, I think that we hero it at the moment. Like, it's like, own a business, and obviously this is a business podcast, but I actually think that some people are suited to not doing that.
Yeah.
And I think that they shine the best in roles where they're being led, or
absolutely,
they're, rather than everyone kind of wanting to own a business and do all this stuff. But that's it's an interesting topic as well.
It is, isn't it? Because I think it is, like you said, it's almost the on-trend thing now. But then when you look at, I look at that 11 years, well, it's coming up to 11 years. And with the loose business plan when I was 8 versus really not even starting with one and having to figure it out along the way. Like, there has been so many bumps in the road, so many that I do look at people and I do wonder, would you have lasted that? Like, at what point would you have been like, oh my God, no, I can't do this?
Yeah.
Because I think people want instant results.
Yeah, we're living in an era of instant gratification, and I think that's across everything. It's like fast food, it's scrolling on Instagram, it's Amazon next day deliveries.
It's crazy.
It's all of this stuff is it's very instant. Yeah, that instant gratification. And I think it makes it harder to grab people's attention, but it also maybe doesn't promote perseverance.
Yeah.
Perseverance.
Yeah, that's it.
Words. Perseverance, or even consistency.
Yeah.
And I think that, we do see a lot of people who are chasing this like cool, sexy entrepreneurship, and then they start, and then it doesn't really work. But I do also encourage those people that, maybe we can look at other roles in businesses and in life as just as important as an entrepreneur and just as sexy. We talk about mums who stay at home, and often I'm just a stay-at-home mum.
I know.
It's not just. You're doing a very important job.
Absolutely.
And if that's what you're really good at and that's what really lights you up, then go for it.
Absolutely.
That's just as impressive as owning a business.
I find that so impressive. And I hear that term thrown around a lot with women that come to the studio, is like, even if they're coming in, they're not sure if they can have the confidence to do a show. It's like, I'm just a mum. I'm like, you're an amazing mum. You're an incredible woman. And you can do this as well as, be a mum. That's the amazing thing. And you should be so proud of that and celebrate that. So I hear that quite often.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so we talked a little bit about bumps in the road. What are some of the challenges that you've faced, or bumps that you've faced, and how have you overcome them?
I think the big one for everybody was COVID. We talk about COVID, especially for in person, we're talking about how great community is, and having that experience of being in a class with somebody that you really love being around. And then you hit with COVID. It was the most bizarre time. I'd actually just had my breast augmentation done the day before lockdown.
Wow.
So I had prepped and planned. I thought, I got an 8-week recovery here. I recorded on my iPhone really loosely, routines in which my cover teacher could stand and teach. And I was going to be sitting there to be able to be like, actually, this is how it went. And just, then all of a sudden, They're like, no one can operate. And I was like, what am I going to do? Like, even no one predicted really what it was going to be.
And it was wild for us, wasn't it? Because we were very lucky on the Sunshine Coast because we had, I think, 3 months where we were like locked down. But it was wild for us because, especially as young business owners, service-based business where you have like a membership and you go from having this very secure membership cash flow to it just being gone.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And again, I think I had to really, for me, it was either I sit here and be upset about it I had peas in my top because I was recovering from a boob job.
Yeah.
Or I plan this. How am I going to get through it? So I sent my now husband off to JB Hi-Fi the next day to get a camera. So I'm going to record. I've just got to record classes. And for someone that is, again, passion-driven, not very much business-minded, I had to learn how to set up online classes, like a YouTube channel. Even Zoom to me was new then. I was like, okay, I'm going to have to really work to keep this community together so that when we come out the other side of it, I still have a business. So I was working 3 times as hard. I was going into the studio with peas in my top. I wasn't supposed to be dancing. I was recording and uploading the full timetable worth of classes every single week. I was doing Zoom lessons at that time that the class would be on. And then I was running one-on-one lessons from home. But at the same time, I discounted, obviously, our class prices to way less than half price because it wasn't the same experience. And I didn't know how long this was going to last, and people were out of money.
We actually did that too. And a lot of studios didn't do that.
No.
And a lot of the members were happy just to continue paying. But yeah, because we jumped the gun and we closed before they told us we had to.
Yeah.
Only by a few days because we were like, it's going to happen. Let's just get on top of it now.
Absolutely. Yeah, because it was, like you said, it's all of a sudden your business is sort of just taken out from underneath you. So being in the mindset of like, which I think maybe because I was, had prepped it a different way for a different scenario.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it completely gets flipped.
Yeah.
But we did have women. It was quite beautiful. Where they would all jump in. The whole class would jump in on Zoom. And I kid you not, the amount of nights I literally danced for a camera and they all sat there with a glass of wine and watched me dance when they should be in on the class. It's like, so is anyone going to get up tonight? They're like, no, you dance.
We're just enjoying the show.
We're going to chat while you dance. And I was like, okay, whatever it takes to keep that community together. And then when we came back, our numbers actually grew.
Yeah, that was the same as us. I think people were so desperate for that in person. They appreciated like the integrity that we held throughout the process. And yeah, that was the same as us. Like people were just so desperate to be in person.
They really were, weren't they?
And to not be doing stuff from like their garage or whatever.
Yeah, and I think that people don't take that for granted anymore too, which is really, really great. So that was a really, really big challenge, but it ended up being really beautiful because I think people saw, also probably like yourself, the commitment to keeping that community together. Like we obviously shared all of the home videos on our stories and like on our feed through that time. So I think it took another like, I can really trust this brand that they're in it for the community.
Yeah.
So we just really made sure we kept nurturing that. So that was a challenge, but I think then probably my next challenge was, I think I had a staff base of maybe 2 or 3 at that point. I now have 15 on my teaching team.
Yeah.
So for me, that's been a challenge as well, as going from not leading anybody and, doing it all yourself to navigating how to be a manager or a leader. And I did 0 training, no skills, and it can be so scary.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people I talk to, and this is just reality, is like staffing team is probably, in my opinion, the hardest part of a business. It can also be the most beautiful.
Yeah.
But at times it can just be so challenging and jading.
Yeah, it really can be. And you've got to do a lot of internal work because I have a beautiful team and I love them all so much. And they've all been members of ours at one point before they become a teacher. That way it's just a really lovely way I feel like I'm bringing them into a family.
Yeah.
So I really want to know who they are. So I do give them a lot of love, and I really like to think I, look after them and keep them feeling like a really great team. But because there is so much love there, when there might be a little disruption or conflict, I take it personally.
Yeah.
And I really have to stop and have a look at, like, why am I taking this so personally? Is it business related, or is this a me thing? Because, obviously I've got my values of, like, loyalty and integrity. And then when you stop and reflect, and it's like, why is this bothering me so much? Has it got anything to do with that person, or is it my thing that I'm projecting onto the situation?
Yeah.
So it's a challenge. And again, that's been a learned experience. When at first, when anything would first happen, that there might be, I don't even want to use the word conflict, but a conversation that would have to be had. I was like, this wasn't part of the plan.
Yeah.
This wasn't in the book that I've never read.
This isn't in the business plan I wrote when I was 8.
Exactly. I thought everyone was just going to love it and have a great time, and we were all going to just be on this beautiful journey together. But sometimes that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Totally.
And it's learning to be okay with that. And I had to do a lot of work. Like, I see a therapist every single week. She's amazing. Therapy with Kira, if anyone wants to check her out.
I was going to say.
She's wonderful.
Love a therapist.
Yeah, and we nut out situations like that. And I've now feel as though I'm starting to gain those tools where I can have conversations without it feeling like it's a negative and, working through things.
Yeah, totally. I love that. That's great. I think it's great that you brought that up, because I just think it can be such a challenge for so many people. And I know for me at the start, the way I dealt with my first conflict within my team, I didn't deal with it badly, but it literally shred me up for months,
It's hard.
And then now I'm kind of like, well, okay, take that emotion out of it. It's not personal. It's okay that people have different values, different things that they need in their life to feel safe, secure, stable.
Exactly.
And maybe we're just not the right fit for each other, and that's okay.
That's exactly what I was about to say. It's realizing at what point do you say it's just not the right fit.
Yeah.
Because that's a really hard thing and that doesn't mean that person is not a brilliant person. It's just that it's not the right fit sometimes. And again, I think that comes down to, being real about that sort of stuff. Because again, when you look at these, businesses or entrepreneurs online, they don't really show that sort of stuff. But that's the not glamorous side. Because I agree with you. The first time I had, a conflict or a hard conversation, it shredded me up too. I was a mess. Driving home, crying, felt so anxious, overthought everything. And I was like, well, you're going to have to learn how to do this, because it's not going to go away. In fact, it's going to get harder the bigger that you get. So I think that was a point too where I'm like, okay, either I freak out right now and I stay stagnant and I say goodbye to everybody that works for me and I run it myself at a certain level, or I really learn how to do this and lead well and, look after these women the best that I can and grow it.
Yeah,
so,
totally.
And I'm not perfect. And I'll say that to my team too. If we have to have a conversation, I'm not perfect. Let's have open conversations about things too.
Let's do the best that we can. I've also found with staff, one thing that I do with anyone that I'm going to work with, whether it's team, partners, collaborations, is that just setting expectations from the start and being super transparent from the start. If you have an issue, if there's anything coming up, my expectation is that you come to me and talk to me about it, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And I want that to be a safe place where I will happily take feedback and go away and think about it in a rational way. And I would like that to be the same for you.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's a thing that's really worked well for me.
Yeah. And I think it is the ability to look at things like you said. I think as well, when I first started having conversations with, because it was new, a team, or even sometimes when I have to have a conversation with a member, I'm sure you probably experience the same thing. You feel like you have to answer right there and then. But it's like, I can actually take this away and think about it so that I can give it the thought that it deserves.
Yeah.
Rather than just blah.
Yeah, and exactly. And even communicating that to that person, whether you're in person with a member, or sometimes my managers come to me with stuff and I'm like, I just need a minute to think about that.
Yeah.
I'll get back to you at 5 p.m. tonight.
Yeah.
And even saying that to remember, like, look, I'm actually not quite sure how to respond to that. I need to have a think about it.
Yeah.
And I'll get back to you, because I know it is important to me that I, think about this and give it the time it deserves. And I feel like that often gains respect as well.
It absolutely does. It really does. And you'd probably be the same with your beautiful community of who you have. And, I'm sure it's a lot of women as well. Women are beautiful people to work with, but we do know, like, how much we can get in our own heads about things and how much women can fester on something before they will talk about something. But how much, how things could have been avoided if they just came to you with a conversation first before sitting on it for too long, and then all of a sudden it gets so big for them that they get anxious about it. And it's like, we do show up and we are there for them. So I always say to team members and members, instead of getting in your own head about something, just come and talk to me straight away, because chances are it can be resolved there and then, rather than
being irreparable.
Exactly, and involving all of these other parties that probably don't even need to be involved. Yeah,
totally. I totally agree. And I think, when you can find those people who want to be like that, it makes things so much more smooth and just better.
Yeah, it's having a good team around you as well. And it takes a little, like, that direct team, right? I always feel like I've got, my really close team at the top with me that I tell everything to, and you need to vent to, like therapist, husband. I've got a beautiful girl called Joey on my team, and I call her every day with the stresses of things. But they're the people that I will, like, nut it out with, and then have the calm conversations with people, or Yeah,
exactly. It sounds like you've got it all figured out.
I'd like to think so.
So with Burlesque L'amour, you started the classes at Imundi. Then you got your own space at Warana, which, like, I love that it just flowed and it was easy. When did you start doing the performances? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, I've only ever seen that sort of business model done with kids.
Correct.
Like, they go to dance class when they're a kid, and then there's, like, these end of term obviously my kid isn't a dancer at this stage, but there's the end of term things or these performances that they do. But I hadn't really ever seen that inside, like, a business model like what you do.
Yeah, and it is a big part of our business model, and it was always something that I knew that I wanted to provide for women as well. I think there's something really special in growth for women. And for them to feel like they've accomplished something. I think that's really important for them. I feel like they're showing up for themselves. They're investing in themselves. So having them then on that journey of growth of, like, okay, they've come into class and started as somebody that's really shy, self-conscious, and you can tell by what they wear and their body language instantly. Like, a lot of them will come to class. Our average age is about, I'd like to say, late 30s to probably 50s. And I love all my members, but that is a really beautiful age to sort of see women, because it's a lot of them, and you'll hear a lot of fresh mums come that say, I've lost myself. And I hear that a lot too. So you'll see them arrive to class, they'll have their baggy shirt on, their tracky pants, sneakers, and with time, because it's just a really nurturing environment, they will slowly start to, get their heels, maybe put their tights on and their crop top, and they slowly start to step into this version of themselves and get that confidence. And because it's a community of like-minded people that we really work hard to nurture, it's then beautiful to see them, like, take on that journey of a show too, because then that's that next step of like, okay, it feels like a team. You're like, okay, well, this is my team now, and this is my team for the next 2 months while we prep for this show. And we're all going to show up for each other, and we're going to support each other through it. And then the big moment of stepping onto stage, like, you compare that woman that is, like, in a beautiful rhinestone outfit. Some of them are topless with, like, nipple pasties on. And you compare that to the woman that walked through the doors at the very start. Like, that was really special to see with the first show that I did. So I was like, okay, this is so important to me for no other reason than seeing that for women. Mm-hmm. So it was always something I started my first, you'll love this one. I started at my high school for my first ever burlesque show.
Yeah.
At Siena High School. And I hired their hall, and they knew exactly what I was doing there. It's not like I tried to hide it.
Yeah.
And we walked in, and they've got this beautiful care prayer learning at the top of the stage. And here we are doing like burlesque and strip teasers, and we get the videos back. Because obviously it's a huge, doing events is a huge cost. Mm-hmm. It's not light. And it's
a huge, I'm like, I don't know how you do it.
It's massive. And to be honest with you, it's hard. Like, it's really, really hard. It's not like we are doing it for the members. Like we love doing it, but we're doing it for the members. Mm-hmm. So we went from 1 a year. We started at Siena Catholic College. Then I went to Noosa High School, and then I made the trip out to venue 114. And then our biggest show has been across at the Sunshine Coast Stadium. But this year we're doing 10 shows. So last year and this year have been our biggest years, with over 4,000 tickets available for purchase. Yeah, so it started with just that one. Mm-hmm. Actually, my first one, told a little lie, is back at Majimba Hall, and there was enough. I sold 100 tickets. It was a burlesque Valentine's Day show, and I had 20 performers in it and sold 100 tickets. Mm-hmm. And now we're doing our biggest, which is the stadium. We can fit 2,000, and we bring all of our 450 members to that.
Wow, that's incredible.
But they're big. They're not they're not easy.
No, yeah, totally. And it's, even though I'm sure you probably got a formula for how they work and stuff, and working with different venues and equipment and things like that, I'm sure that you've got a system. But man, events even with the 100 people is hard.
And you know what gets in your head now is like, it was almost, obviously everything's easier, not easier, but the smaller it is, right? It's easier to navigate. You've got less, not opinions, but feedback as well.
Yeah.
But the bigger it gets and the more that's happening, I'd laugh because I'll call Joey sometimes and I'm like, I just don't know what people want, because we've gone from it being like women just loved the way that it made them feel, and you know, they're like, we love the shows, they live for it, and they still do. But then you get the feedback of, well, maybe it's too many. And I'm like, okay, it's so hard to, and you're never going to please everybody. But that's when we really have to say to our members, well, maybe have a little look at how many classes you're doing. Like that can be, rather than looking at it of like, there's so many shows. It's like, well, if you're doing 15 classes a week, it's probably going to feel like there's a lot of shows because you're involved in so many. But with the amount of members that we have in locations, that is the amount that we need to make sure that every woman has the opportunity to perform on stage.
Yeah. Amazing. So how many locations do you have?
8.
Okay. Where are they?
Karoy. I have to draw down the coast.
Okay.
Do you do that too?
Yeah, I do that too.
Karoy, Maroochydore, Caloundra, Warana, Moffat Beach, North Brisbane, South Brisbane. Did I say Nambour?
No.
Nambour.
Do you have one at the Gold Coast too?
We did.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we still haven't found we've had a couple of instructors come through and they've all been beautiful, but again, not the right time for them.
Yeah. And
we have the most amazing Gold Coast community down there that are just dying for us to get back into it. But it's almost that little bit too far, because I can, you know, travel to Brisbane and check in with members and be able to really manage that and, you know, oversee it if I need to. It's just that little bit further for us to be able to achieve that just yet.
Yeah, definitely. You kind of have to have that person that's, you know, almost as close to you as Joey.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
I don't know Joey, but by the sounds of it, who's like on the ground there.
Exactly. Yeah.
I totally get that. Amazing. That's so good. I didn't realize you had Caloundra and Moffat.
Yeah. Moffat's new to us. Yeah. And again, like full transparency, again, business, like sometimes you just don't know.
Yeah.
That was a new business model for us. We had a lot of, again, the interest is these shows. And that's, as I told that story of why we do it, like that's our why. There was a lot of members and even inquiries of people just wanting casual classes. So women that maybe worked away in the mines, they were a little bit nervous to get on stage. So this Moffat Beach headquarters landed in my lap and I was like, why not? Let's just jump in and do it, but let's do a different business model.
Yeah.
Because our shows are so full that we can't actually fit any more routines into our shows at this point in time for this year. I was like, this is great. We've got so many inquiries for these casual classes. And I was like, where are they all? Like, isn't it funny? You go off the feedback, and so we're really trying to navigate that at the moment. It's still going well, but it's been a slower sort of start.
A slow burn.
Based off what the interest was. And again, you can't hold that against people. You've just got to figure out, maybe, and then I'm like, okay, well, maybe we pivot this and we go to the model that we really know best and start building a community out there of women that can get on stage and perform.
Yeah. I mean, Clounder and Moffat are also pretty close.
Very close.
Together. So the business model you're doing in Moffat is that it's casual classes, but it's not necessarily learning a routine to perform.
Exactly. Yeah.
A routine to perform.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so they can come to a class and then they go home and then they come back the next week.
Yeah.
And they learn a new routine again.
Yeah, okay.
Whereas our, model at the moment is building on a finished product that and I guess they get really proud of that, right? It's like, I just learned that. And then even prouder when they get up on stage and perform it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I think even with the events, like, I've always thought that was really clever. And I'm sure I'm not saying intentionally clever, but just clever that, because one of the hardest things about events is selling tickets.
Oh, absolutely.
But when people are so proud of themselves and they want to show off what they've learned, I know with your shows they're always sold out. Jules, who's one of our instructors, obviously, she's like, do we want to get an inflow table or whatever? And I'm like, yep. And she's like, well, tickets go on sale this time. We have to be on it. I'm like, okay, I've set my alarm.
It's, we actually had to, it was an unintentional, really great formula, right? Because the first show that back 9 years ago, we'd do cash sales at the studio. Yeah. And they'd line up around the block to buy. And this was just the members that would come and buy for their family and friends. And I remember standing there and I had paper tickets.
Yeah.
And I was handing them out as people would buy them. One lady would come in and buy 10 for her family and one would buy 25 and some would buy for each other. And I'm watching these tickets disappear from my hand, but looking at the line of how many people there were. And being the person that I am, my heart was did not be great, we've sold out a show. It was oh my God, these people have missed out. Mm-hmm. So we quickly had to start coming up with plans on how we can make sure. And then again, this is probably just me. My husband's love you, but you're crazy.
Yeah.
Who actually tries to make sure that every single person can get a ticket rather than just being happy to sell it out, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, we have to cap ticket sales. We have to say that every dancer can only buy 5 tickets because if they buy 10, we had one girl one time buy 50 tickets.
Oh, wow.
So that's 5 rows of tables just gone.
You're just doing an event. That's this is just an event for you.
Exactly. That's the gold tickets in the theatre just sold out straight away. So we had to implement this rule of 5 tickets per dancer. But interestingly enough now, and again, more of a business sort of thing, is we're now in a time where cost of living is very different. Mm-hmm. So people are very different with their money now than what they were in these years that we've been doing shows. So the shows are still selling out. We're so grateful for that. But we've noticed it's a little bit slower. It could be the volume of shows that we've got, but I think it is a big part as well of the cost of living. Mm-hmm. People are a little less inclined for those luxuries to spend, or they don't know that they have that spare money to spend on a show until week of.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. It's been interesting. It's hard. Every time you do something, it is completely different to the first.
I think it's hard too, you talk about cost of living. I don't know if you've experienced this, but with our studios, we haven't increased our pricing for members since we opened 7 years ago.
Yeah.
But our instructor costs have gone up, doubled. Mm-hmm. Our rent tripled.
I can imagine.
Yeah. And it's it's pretty crazy, just businesses who have had that longevity on how they're surviving with this. And I think that's such a huge part of a great business owner is someone who can pivot. It's COVID happened. Okay, how are we pivoting?
Exactly.
Let's not get caught up in poor me.
Oh, that's right.
How are we pivoting? How are we going to make this work?
It's the only option. And that sounds very similar when you said about your prices, etc. I did my first price rise last year. Mm-hmm. No, this year. What are we? 2025.
Yeah.
So I did 10 years of the same pricing structure. Maybe I remember one time, I think I was under $10 for a class. And mum used to work on the desk, and this is 10 years ago, we used to do cash.
Yeah.
One night, because she was like, you've got to put your prices up. Like, this is so affordable and cheap. And I remember she wrote a sign, classes have now increased by $2.50 or something. So then, and I remember being like, Mum, like I was so nervous that people weren't going to want to pay that. And sure enough, they did it. They're like, you kidding? Of course, this is the best thing that I've done for myself. Of course, I'm going to pay for that. So that was a little price rise, but 10 years of the same price. My husband now works for me, which is really exciting. He used to be a driller and a PT.
Yeah.
But I think he saw, you know, all of a sudden I've got 8 locations, a team of 15, and I'm just like, this.
You need the help.
I need the help. And because I'm so passionate, and I think I realize I need to keep that for this to keep growing. I need to be who I truly am in the business. So he came home from work one day and he's like, I quit today. And I was like, pardon? He's like, I quit. I'm going to work in BL. I was like, okay, let's do it. He's never had a business. He's very smart. And he sort of looked at it for me and he said, your prices are supporting you as a sole trader and not a company, which you now have.
Yeah.
He's like, if you don't implement a change, there it could be really detrimental at this stage to the business. So grateful for him to come in and sort of see that. Sometimes it just takes an outside perspective to look in. And I was like, I was so nervous. I was like, okay, maybe we've got to do this and this is what we've got to do. And I think we maybe lost 5 members out of 400 and something.
Yeah.
Everyone else really welcomed it and was so supportive. I mean, people's amount of classes that they did might have changed, but some of them increased their classes. So it feels so grateful that again, I do this for the members. They're my why. But for them to see the value in what we do, to be so supportive of it was beautiful.
Yeah, totally. And I think, like, you know, you're obviously so passionate about your members and your clients and stuff, but there's also a certain level where your business has to be sustainable.
100%.
Otherwise you can't keep doing it.
No, that's right.
So it's like, okay, well, what?
You got to look at that, right? You got to look at what's the alternative. It's not here. And then all of this beautiful community that has gained so much. Like I know stories of women that have left bad relationships, left a friendship group that wasn't good for them, changed careers because they found the confidence in themselves through our space. And I know that because they so openly share those stories and it's beautiful. So I'm like, yeah, it's a non-negotiable. This space has to be here for women to be able to, you know, do that for themselves.
Yeah, totally. And I think, like you said, often, most of the time, clients, like, they know they're in the world. They're either running their own businesses or they understand that these things don't just happen by magic.
That's right.
So,
exactly.
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, it's great that you talk about working with your husband so fondly. Just not a lot of people do.
No.
I mean, like, me and my husband started our first studio together and we sort of quickly realised that
it wasn't for you guys.
Yeah. But, like, we still do work together on stuff and, like, we're fine. We've learnt to, like, navigate it, but it's just, like, not a natural chemistry for us, I guess you could say. But it's really nice the way that when I was listening to you, because I was thinking about that, I was thinking it's really nice that your husband, obviously, he's coming in with a business mind on. Yeah. But he's also seeing the value in what you bring. Yeah. And giving you that confidence to, like, value what you bring a bit more as well.
He's really wonderful at that, actually. He's the big one for telling me when my imposter syndrome is kicking in. I don't think it matters how hard you work on that part of yourself. It's always going to be there. Yeah. So that's when he'll sit me down and say, that's just your imposter syndrome kicking in. Yeah. So, yeah, he can absolutely see the value in what I provide or we provide as a team. But, again, for someone that doesn't have a business, he's got a really good business mind. Yeah, and it's been great changes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great when your strengths can complement each other.
That's right, yeah.
And I just have to say, like, I've never met your husband before, but I know he's obsessed with you because I've watched him at events, like, pinch your bum and, like, Just be your biggest cheerleader.
Yeah, he's wonderful. He's literally come to pretty much everything.
Yeah. That's
and he's
amazing.
so hands-on now. Like he was sort of, he's an introvert, so big introvert. So him coming into a community of like this many women too has been big for him. And it's been really lovely to see him step up into that world as well. And the girls just enjoy him being around too and having banter with him. So it's been really nice.
Yeah, I love that. So good. Okay. 3 tips that you would give to anyone starting a business. Now, you started your business very young, and a lot of it sounds like it wasn't necessarily like, okay, this is my 5-year plan, this is my 10-year plan. It was like you kind of, in a way, fell into it.
Yeah.
Knowing what you know now, knowing the lessons you know now,
Yeah.
say if there was just someone of any age, what are some tips that you would give them if they were thinking of starting a business?
I think is number one for me is finding your purpose or your why. And that might look very different to mine. Like everyone's why is completely different. And I think that is the best place to start because it's what's going to drive it and keep driving it. I would also then say as well, don't overthink things. I think that, like we spoke about before we started, I'm a very much organized chaos sort of person and just go with the flow. And I know organization is amazing, but I do think it can sometimes overshadow just letting things happen organically as well and trusting the process. So I guess trusting the process. And for me, again, the hard part is, and I guess it depends on the business, but yeah, don't people please. Really don't people please, because I think that, again, it can have a really negative effect sometimes, not only on the business itself, but also on you as a person. And when you're driving that brand, it's really important to protect that. It's beautiful to look after people, but not...
Yeah, to the detriment of your own health, like mental health, all of that sort of stuff. I think also people pleasing is like, it's actually doing a disservice to the people that you're pleasing, because it actually, you people please, but then you start to build a resentment because you're doing shit that you don't want to do.
That's exactly right.
And you're saying yes to things that are a no. And I think it's like sort of unfair on the people that you're pleasing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, they would be my 3 tips. They sound pretty simple.
I love them.
Don't they?
I think they're great. I think they're really good tips, especially since you didn't know I was going to ask you to give them.
No, I didn't. But yeah, that's just like honestly from my heart, it would be the 3 tips that I would give somebody.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. Is there anything, before we wrap up, is there anything that we haven't spoken about today that you would like to speak about?
I don't think so. I think we covered everything.
Yeah, covered everything.
And I wish I could talk about the exciting things coming, but I can't. I know I planted that at the start, and I was like, I was like, oh my God, I can't talk about those just yet, but watch this space.
Yeah, I'll ask you off camera.
Yeah, you can ask me, because you can know.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And I can't wait to release this app. It's going to be gem.
Yeah, thank you so much.
No worries.